The refugee medical facility on Haven's Rest smelled like antiseptic and despair. Dr. Marcus Webb had been there 3 weeks, rotating through various wards, and he'd learned to recognize the difference between patients who believed in recovery and those who were just waiting to die. Lyra Tessarin was the second kind. The Silvani woman kept her face covered with a scarf, spoke only when necessary, and spent most of her time in the isolation ward where the most traumatized refugees were housed. Her medical file told Marcus everything he needed to know about her injuries. Extensive facial trauma from shrapnel and burns, right side severely damaged, facial markings obliterated. What the file didn't tell him was the depth of her self-loathing. Silvani culture placed immense value on physical beauty and facial markings that expressed emotion. Lyra's scars made her effectively invisible to her own people. Other Silvani refugees avoided looking at her. Children stared until their parents hurried them away. Even Silvani medical staff treated her wounds with clinical efficiency, but no warmth. Lyra had internalized this rejection completely. She was convinced her life had ended with the explosion, that she'd become something monstrous, unworthy of connection. Marcus's first attempt at interaction went poorly. "I'm Dr. Webb. I'd like to examine your scars, make sure the healing is progressing properly." Lyra didn't look at him. "Please leave me alone, there's nothing you can do. My face is horrible, I know what I am." The complete conviction in her voice, the absolute certainty that she was monstrous, told Marcus everything. This wasn't a medical problem, it was a social one, and he made a decision that would change both their lives. Marcus didn't leave Lyra alone, but he didn't push either. Instead, he began visiting regularly, not as a doctor examining a patient, but as a person checking in on another person. He brought meals, made casual conversation about the facility, other refugees, small observations that required no response but provided contact. Lyra was baffled. Every other medical professional had either tried to force examination or given up when she refused. Marcus did neither. He just existed in her space, comfortable and non-demanding. One day, he brought art supplies. "I noticed you watching the garden through the window, thought you might like something to do." Lyra didn't respond, but after he left, she tentatively picked up the charcoal. Drawing was something she'd loved before the war, before her face became horror she couldn't bear. The next day, Marcus noticed the sketches. "These are beautiful, you have real talent." "They're just drawings," Lyra said, but there was a flicker of something in her voice, not quite hope, but the memory of what hope felt like. Over weeks, Marcus slowly built rapport. He learned about Silvani culture through conversations where Lyra gradually opened up. "In Silvani culture, we say the face is the soul made visible," she explained one day, scarf still firmly in place. "Without my markings, I'm nothing, just empty flesh. That's why my people can't look at me, I'm horrifying." Marcus was quiet then. "May I tell you what I see when I look at you?" Lyra's scarred ear twitched with surprise. "You don't look at me, nobody does. I look at you every time I visit. And I see someone who survived something that killed others. I see someone still creating beauty through art despite believing she's lost everything. I see courage most people couldn't imagine. You haven't seen my face. Then show me." The invitation hung in the air. Lyra's hand trembled toward her scarf, then fell away. "You'll understand then, why everyone avoids me. Or I'll understand why your people are cowards who value appearance over substance," Marcus said bluntly. "But you won't know until you try." 3 days later, Lyra removed her scarf in Marcus's presence. She did it quickly, then closed her eyes because she couldn't bear to see his reaction. The scarring was extensive, the right side of her face twisted and discolored, her facial markings obliterated. Her ear partially destroyed. Even her functional eye was surrounded by damage. Marcus was silent, and Lyra's self-loathing intensified with each passing second. "You're beautiful," Marcus said quietly. Lyra's eyes snapped open. "What?" "Your scars tell a story of survival. Your remaining markings are more expressive because they're not taking up your whole face. And your eyes." He met her gaze directly. "Your eyes show kindness, intelligence, and strength. That's more beautiful than any physical feature." "My face is horrible, you're lying." "I'm a medic, I've seen hundreds of trauma survivors. Some have perfect faces and dead eyes, they survived physically but lost who they were. Others have extensive scarring, but eyes that burn with life. You're the second kind, and that's beautiful." He gently examined the scarring from a medical perspective. The healing is good, no infection, your healers did excellent work, but more importantly, he met her eyes again. You're still you. The explosion took some of your face, but not the person behind it. That person is remarkable. Lyra felt something she hadn't felt since the explosion, tears. They fell from both eyes, and Marcus didn't look away. He just sat with her while she cried, bearing witness to grief and slowly emerging hope. Over following weeks, something shifted. Lyra began leaving the isolation ward. She stopped hiding her face. Other Silvani still averted their eyes, but Lyra cared less. Because one person saw her as beautiful, not despite her scars, but including them, and that perspective gave her permission to start seeing herself differently. Marcus introduced her to human staff members, who treated her scars as unremarkable, just another injury. They asked about her art, invited her to activities. In human culture, scars were evidence of survival, not marks of shame. Gradually, Lyra rebuilt her sense of self, not as the beautiful Silvani woman she was before, but as someone new. Someone whose scars were part of her story rather than its entirety. The turning point came when new refugees arrived, including several Silvani with fresh trauma. Lyra watched them, scared, hurt, displaced, and recognized her own pain. She approached Marcus with a proposition. Let me help with the Silvani refugees. I know what they're feeling. And maybe seeing someone like me, scarred but functioning, will help them believe recovery is possible. Marcus was immediately supportive. You'd be incredible at that, but are you ready? Some will react to your scars with discomfort. I know, but you taught me their discomfort is their problem, not mine. Maybe I can teach them that too. Lyra became a peer counselor, working with traumatized Silvani struggling with disfigurement. She was remarkably effective, not preaching about accepting scars, but embodying survival. One young Silvani woman with burns refused all contact, convinced her injuries made her worthless. Lyra sat with her for days. Finally, the girl asked, how do you live with it? How do you let people see you? I learned that the people whose opinions matter are the ones who see past surfaces. And the ones who can't. They're telling you about their limitations, not yours. A human medic taught me that. He looked at my face and saw beauty when my own people saw horror. That gift changed everything. The girl slowly began to emerge, following Lyra's example. And she wasn't the only one. Lyra started art therapy groups. She advocated for better mental health support. She became a bridge between Silvani traditional values and a more expansive understanding of worth. During one conversation, Lyra thanked Marcus again. You gave me my life back. Not my face, but something more important, my belief that I deserve to have a life at all. I just saw what was already there, Marcus said, but you saw it first. When I said my face was horrible, you looked at me and saw beauty. That moment, when someone looked at me without pity or revulsion, that's when healing became possible. Years later, when Lyra became a prominent advocate for trauma survivors, she always credited the human medic who refused to accept her self-loathing. He saw beauty the moment he looked at me, she told audiences, her scarred face displayed without shame. Not because my scars weren't there, but because he chose to see past them to the person beneath. That choice, to see beauty where culture taught him to see horror, that's the most powerful gift one being can give another. And Marcus, continuing his work in refugee facilities, carried the lesson forward. Beauty isn't found in perfection. It's found in survival, in courage, in eyes of people who have endured horror and chosen to keep living. When students asked about his most impactful case, he told them about Lyra, about the Silvani woman who believed her scars made her monstrous, and how helping her see her own beauty taught him medicine's true purpose. Medicine isn't just healing bodies. It's healing the relationship people have with their own bodies, their identities. Sometimes the most important treatment isn't surgical. It's simply showing someone they're still worthy of being seen, still deserving of connection, still beautiful in all the ways that truly matter. And in facilities across the galaxy, refugees with scars and trauma slowly learned what Lyra learned. That true beauty is not found in perfection, but in the hearts of those who choose to see it. That survival itself is beautiful,